Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm so pumped you're all here. We have more people on here now than yesterday, so that's exciting. So we're going to go over, yesterday we went over our why. I did post that to my YouTube if you guys missed it, because that is the first step into reconditioning your mind. You have to know your why and why you're doing this. Why are you wanting to become a better person? Why are you wanting to make money? All of that. So after this, if you didn't watch that, go watch that. That video, it's on my YouTube. So first we're going to talk about your money blueprint. So this is the basis of this whole workshop, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You have to understand what a blueprint is. So we live in a world of duality. You know, there can't be a left unless there's a right. There's hot, cold, all the opposites of each other. So having said that, there are outer laws of money and inner laws of money. And the outer laws contain your business knowledge, your investment knowledge, your money management. So all the things that you are in control of that most people are actually really scared of. I know for me, I was so scared of investment. I would hear that word, like stocks and all that kind of stuff. I'd hear that and I'd be like, no, But I realized that it's because of my conditioning, and we're going to get into that in a minute. So none of these things matter. Okay. That's the good thing, is you don't have to have all this business knowledge. You don't have to have investment knowledge, because the very first thing is your inner laws. So your inner laws are crucial. And if you want to have an analogy, because I love analogies, think of it as a carpenter having all of the top of the line tools. He's got all the expensive tools, all the best stuff. But if he's not a skilled carpenter, if he doesn't know what he's doing, then those tools aren't going to be any help to him. So that's the exact same thing. If you don't have your inner laws in check, then all of your business management, your investment strategies, you may be able to figure out how to make money, but you won't be able to keep it. So think about this while we're going through the training today. Who are you? What do you believe? What are your habits and traits? How do you feel about yourself? How confident are you? How well do you relate to others? Do you believe that you deserve wealth? Can you act in spite of fear and discomfort? Can you act when you're not in the mood? And the biggest one that stands out to me is, do you believe you deserve wealth? Because most people don't. And that's why we continue to stay broke, because we believe that we only deserve so much. So your character, your thinking, and your beliefs are a critical part of what determines your financial success. So basically, your financial situation right now is all a reflection of you and what your beliefs are. Sometimes that's hard to take in, but we're going to go over that. So, you probably heard of people who have blown up financially. Maybe they ran into a bunch of money through inheritance, or they have won the lottery, or they open a business and it booms. But then you hear of these people all at the same time losing it all. You're like, oh, so-and-so won the lottery, but they lost it all because they spent their money stupid. That's because most people don't have that internal capacity to create and hold on to large amounts of money. And I want to just share my story really, really quick. When I went triple diamond, I was like blown away, because my paychecks were almost $15,000. And I came from a background where we did not have that kind of money. Okay. Like, we were wearing thrift store clothes and like barely eating sometimes, we didn't have that kind of money at all. And for me, when I got it, it was like, oh my God, I can't even handle this. And I spent it every single month. Every month, by the time the 15th came around, I was broke. I'm talking like scraping by. I spent 15 grand every single month. And I remember thinking I did have fun. I traveled and had so much fun, but I just kept thinking, I'm like, why, how am I not getting ahead? Yes, I paid off my debt. I paid off all my stuff, but then I started gaining more debt after. I was like, okay, something is wrong here. And you're going to understand why this happened. And I'll explain later how I was able to change that. But this is also why self-made millionaires can lose it all and they'll get it back. You know, Donald Trump is a good explanation of that. He went bankrupt completely and built his revenue back to even more than he was before. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. Drop it in the chat if you have. Those of you who are Ed Milet fans probably have heard of this. How people have an internal thermostat that runs their whole life. And if you have think of it as a thermostat in your house. It was cold as hell in my house this morning. So that's why I thought thinking of this. But if your thermostat is set to only you making $2,000 a month, okay? I remember I worked at a bank and that was our cap. It was like you could only make like $2,500 a month, and that was like you were doing good if you made that. And there was no way I ever went past that, because that was my internal cap that I thought, okay, that's all that I'm worth. So even when I went and got second jobs, third jobs, fourth jobs sometimes, I still didn't have money because I was capped out at this is how much you're worth. And this goes for almost everything in life, your self-confidence. I could go on and on about that. And that's a whole nother subject, but think of this training as raising your thermostat. You have to, and sometimes you don't even know how you're going to do it, but if you raise your standards, you will automatically work up to that. And we're going to learn how to subconsciously make it so that your thermostat gets raised. So there, again, the reality is that this is sad too, okay? But you guys are all on this with me, and we're going to get through this together. But most people, 80%, this is research shows that 80% of people will never be financially free. 80%, like that's a huge number, will never be financially free and report that they're never fully happy. Why? Because when you have no money, it's stressful. How many times, I don't know about you, but I remember laying awake at night, bawling my eyes out because I didn't know how I was going to pay my credit card bill or my rent, or like, it was always something that I had to like go and find another job or find another side hustle and make money because I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. My credit cards were racked up, and that's the worst feeling in the world. It's stressful. So how could you ever be truly happy when you're feeling like that? But the reason for this is actually simple. That's the good thing, is we can change this. The reason is simple. Most people are just unconscious. They're sleeping. They're not awake to what the reality is, and they're not awake to what their full potential is, and don't go after it. So our unconscious minds are drafted by what we've heard from our parents, from our siblings, from our friends, from our teachers. Everything that we've heard is how our subconscious mind is created on the way we think of money. So rewinding back, our minds work we naturally work based on what we can actually physically see. But it's what we can't see that's the most important. So think of a tree. Think of the tree representing your life, and the tree grows fruits. Think of the tree or the fruits representing your results of your life. So right now, maybe some of us don't like our fruits. They're too small, they taste bad, they smell weird, we're not into it. And we just don't like them. So what do? Most people will try to work on the results and try to fix and like beautify the results. But what happens if you're like an actual farmer going to your trees and tending your trees? You have to work on the roots. You're going to throw those fruits away and work on the roots, because that's where you're getting the bad fruit, and that's how you're going to create better fruit. So think of that as yourself. It's what's underground. It's what's in your heart. It's what's in your mind. That's what's going to create your outer world. Your inner world creates your outer world. And you guys are going to hear me say that a million times throughout this training. So I really want you to understand that working on yourself, all of us are in Diamond Divas. When you hear April talk about personal development all the time, some of us can even like tell what she's going to say, but she says it over and over and over because it's true. You have to work on your inners in order for you to have the results on the outside. So if you want to change to bigger and better fruit, you need to change to the invisible. And some will argue, some would maybe say, seeing is believing. You guys have probably all heard that before, seeing is believing. But why would you bother paying your electricity bill if that was true? Like, go stick your finger in the socket and tell me that electricity isn't real. And it, again, that analogy just goes to show what you can't see is so much more powerful than what you can. So we're going to change that today. We're going to change our inners today, start on that today. So there's 4 physical realms that we all live in right now. There's your physical, or sorry, not physical realms. There's 4 realms. One is physical, one is mental, one is spiritual, and one is emotional. And again, your money is the result your money is a result, your wealth is a result, your health is a result, and your illness is a result. So you might think that your problem is the lack of money. You know, you're stressed out because you have a lack of money. You're laying in bed because you don't have money, and you're laying in bed upset because you don't have money, but that is just the result of you. So I'm sorry to say it's you. It's me. That's what we're going to fix. So now we're going to go back to the money blueprint. Now that we have that figured out, it's our inners. We have to work on our inners, and that's why we're doing this workshop, okay? So what is your money blueprint? We all have one. Like I was saying before, it's a pre-programmed program that is in our mind from our family, our friends, our teachers, authority figures, all of the people that were in our life as a child, all of the things that we ever heard them say, or all the actions we ever saw them do. That is how our mind gets pre-programmed. Think of it as like a preset plan for a home. That's how it is in your mind. You just keep continually going back to that because that's all that you know, and it's all that you're taught. You know, we didn't come out of the womb with all these feelings and insecurities about money. It was taught to us. So I'm going to just teach you a formula, and you're going to be familiar with it if you've ever heard of manifestation. But how the formula goes is TFAR. So think of that as a formula. So thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. So it all starts with your thoughts. Your blueprint is a combination of all of these things, but it starts with your thoughts. So like I said, started right from when you could start understanding people's words. That's when your mind started pre-programming all of this stuff about money. Again, like I said, think of your mind as a cabinet with all these storage files, and everything that you're ever taught goes in there. So whenever somebody talks about money or talks about, like, let's say, cooking, your brain is going to go to your storage files of all the things that you know and you've been taught, and then you're going to pull that, and that's all you have. So if we think about the fact that if our subconscious mind controls our thoughts, then that means we have to change our programming in order to change our thoughts. So there's 3 ways of conditioning that we've had since we were little. So there's verbal. So what did you hear? Modeling. What did you see? And specific incidents. What did you experience? So all of these things are what is going to create all of your storage files and your perception on money. And it's important that we do understand each one. So we're going to go through each one. So let's start with verbal. What did you hear about money growing up? So I'm going to list off a couple of statements that you're probably going to recognize because you've probably heard them growing up. Now, money is the root of all evil. Save your money for a rainy day. Rich people are greedy. Filthy rich. You have to work hard for your money. The rich keep getting richer. The poor keep getting poorer. And we can't afford it. So, and I wanted to say this too. I don't know if you have ever noticed this, but childhood movies growing up, the bad guy or the bad dad in all the movies were all rich. Like, think of like Elf. I was just like thinking of that the other day. You know, the dad's rich and he's like, they portray him as a bad person. They did that in so many other children's movies that I can think of. The rich guy is always the snobby, rude, greedy person, right? So then we have that programmed into our mind that rich people are bad. So subconsciously, you're not getting more money because you're like, you subconsciously think that you'll turn into a bad person once you have it. So all of these things you've heard are actually running your subconscious life. And we're going to get into this even more in another day. But we'll start with the verbal conditioning. This is such a powerful one because this is what starts training our thoughts. So take this. I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is right out of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind book. So let's talk about this guy named Steve. So he didn't have a problem earning any money. He made $800,000 every single year, that's a lot of money. You should be able to live very well off of that. But he had a problem keeping it. Just like I told you in my story, he was spending it and was always broke, had zero net worth. He would either spend it, lend it, or lose it all in bad investments. So he went to Secrets of the Millionaire Mind training and shared that when he was growing up, his mom always used to say that rich people are greedy. You should have just enough to get by, and anything more than that, you're a pig. The rich make money off the sweat of the poor. So subconsciously, he linked being rich with greedy, and he loved his mom so much and he didn't want to disappoint her. And you would think, like, logically, you're like, well, why would he do that? Why would he care about what somebody thinks when he could just be rich? But your mind doesn't work like that. Your mind will always choose a deep and emotional level of connection over a logical choice. It will always choose that first. So your subconscious mind will take that instead of the actual logical way. So anyways, he took the course and they came up with a plan to make this better. So his mom loves Hawaii. So he ended up buying her a house in Hawaii, and she now loves the fact that he's rich and tells everybody how generous and kind and great he is. So he changed her mindset because he was able to take his money and do something really amazing for his mom, who he loved so much. So there's so many different ways that the people in your life when you were a kid could have those effects on you, even now that you have no idea, until probably right now you're thinking of like, holy crap, I've heard all of these things and thought that this was real. And for me, even today, I was out with, this weekend, I was out with David and his friend just kept talking about how bad the stocks were, and he keeps talking about the stocks and how bad and how he's losing all his money. And all I'm thinking of in my head is, you need to take this Secrets of the Millionaire Mind course, because I also know people who are absolutely wealthy, rich because of stocks, but it's because they don't have that subconscious, dwelling in the back of their mind, and they're better able to choose stocks that are going to benefit them instead of somebody who has the bad subconscious dwelling, and they choose stuff that is just going to make lose their money. So what we're going to be doing is conditioning your thinking, because your thinking, like I said, your conditioning determines your thinking determines your feelings, your decisions, your actions, which eventually produces your outcome. So there are 4 key elements to change. So you guys can write these down if you want. The 4 key elements of changing your subconscious mind is awareness. So you can't change something unless you know it exists. And that's why we're going over all of these things, so that you can understand where your subconscious mind is at. Your understanding. So if you understand your way of thinking and where it originates, you can understand that it comes outside of you. So this isn't you, okay? This is what has been conditioned into your mind from everybody else from when you were a kid. And disassociation is the 3rd. So once you realize this way of thinking isn't you, you can separate yourself from it. You can see that this way of thinking, and you can look at your goals and think, okay, does this way of thinking serve my goals? Is this my truth? Or do I need to figure something else out? And I'm assuming if you're all here, you need to figure something else out. So we're going to say yes to that. And then reconditioning. So this is what we're going to be doing in the next few chapters, is reconditioning all of those mental files. So we're going to become aware of the mental files and then give you brand new ones to use, so that when you think of money, when you think of earning it, spending it, you're going to come back to your wealth files of everything that you've learned in this course. So, okay, so definitely have your pen and paper out, because we're going to do a little activity. I'll do it with you guys. So these are your steps for change. So we're going to write out your awareness. So write down all the statements you've ever heard about money, wealth, and rich people when you were young. So write them all out just as they come to you. Share in the chat if you want to. So my biggest one I'll share, my dad is like a workaholic. He's just insane. Like he lives on a farm. He will literally go to work for 12 hours, come home, hay the fields, and work until he goes to bed. It's insane. And he was always miserable. He was an asshole. Like he was just, because he was overworked, but he always told us you have to work hard for your money. If you're not working hard, then you might as well give up on life. I know he's crazy, but he would say all those things like that. And so ingrained in my head as a kid, I was like, that's why I worked 4 jobs at a time, because I thought that that's how you were supposed to make money. And then once I got introduced to this business, like we work hard in a different way. You know, I can get my work done in 2 hours if I want, and then I hang out all day with my kid, right? So like the subconscious mindset I had to change was you've got to work smarter, not harder. And that's what you're doing right now by learning all this stuff, is you're learning how to actually work smarter. You don't need to work harder. So that was my, like, when I first did this, that was my biggest like epiphany, I guess you could say. I was like, holy moly, I have been living my life a lie. Okay, so next is understanding. So write down how you believe these statements have affected your financial life so far. How have these statements affected your life? I'll share mine. One of them, like one of the things I always heard too was rich people are greedy, or you always hear bad stuff about rich people. And so you guys, like working 4 jobs, I was making like decent money, but it was like I had to get rid of it all the time. Even with It Works, when I started making that really good paycheck, it was like my subconscious mind, and I didn't even realize it. Not once did I think, oh, I'm a bad person, but it was my subconscious that I didn't realize until I did this book, was that I was linking having money to being a bad person. So it was like, oh, I don't want anyone to know, like I don't want anything in my bank account because I should have just enough to get by, because if I have more than that, I'm a bad person. Like I'm greedy, and like, so that was a big one for me. I had to like disassociate myself from that feeling. I'm just reading all your guys' comments. Angela, yes. Aw, crazy. Okay, so The third, so disassociation, or wait, did we do that? Yeah. Okay, so disassociation. Can you see that these thoughts represent only what you learned and are not part of your anatomy and not who you are? So you guys, like, think about this. Realize that this isn't who you are. This is just what you've been taught. And just because you've been taught it doesn't mean that it's right. Can you see that you have a choice in the present moment to be different? So think about that. Think about that really hard, because in order for you to change, you have to be aware, you have to understand, but you have to be ready to get rid of all of those files in your brain. Unless, I mean, some of you might have some really positive ones that you're going to learn. And I learned that through this book. I was like, okay, that one that I had was a positive one. I'm going to hold on to that. So we're going to do declarations, and we're going to do this at the end of every book. So a declaration is us saying things out loud so that our brain, our subconscious and our conscious connects it, and we can think about it all day and have that positivity. We all know the power of affirmations, for those of you who've been in this business for a while. So saying it out loud makes it real. Actually, we did a leadership retreat and we all journaled about, I forget what we were even journaling, but everybody journaled, and I called on people to say theirs out loud, and everybody who said it out loud started bawling, and they're like, holy, that was different than writing it down to actually say it out loud. So you guys, there's power in saying it out loud. Okay, so the declaration, so put your hand on your heart. Okay, so we're going to take action, say it, we're going to connect everything in our body to what we're saying. So what I heard about money isn't necessarily true. I choose to adopt new ways of thinking that support my happiness and success. Okay, one more time, because I know I went fast there. Okay, so what I heard about money isn't necessarily true. I choose to adopt new ways of thinking that support my happiness and success. So touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. Woo, doesn't that feel good? We're millionaires now, don't you know? Cool. Thank you guys so much for hopping on here. I know myself, I hear my baby crying like literally as soon as we just stopped this. So that's perfect. I got up at 5 and I spent half an hour doing my tasks. So I'm already like halfway done my KPI tasks. So I suggest you guys take a little bit of time, get through some of your tasks, because we get paid to enroll customers and distributors, and that's how we're going to turn into millionaires as well. So get your work in. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow.